Bedknobs and Broomsticks, starring the incomparable Angela Lansbury.
My first broom.
As Miss Eglantine Price, who takes a correspondence course in witchcraft. And David Tomlinson as Professor Emilius Brown, a lovable London con man.
I've been cheated.
And three homeless cockney waifs who alone can help Eglantine find the missing spell. Their search is supersonic. Their adventures are ultra-fantastic.
For some reason, we have great difficulty finding referees round here.
Pedagogy.
And her magic is enchanting.
Oh, Charlie!
It's grand when you're dancing on the
See Angela Lansbury
bobbing along, singing a song on the bar.
in Walt Disney Productions' most magical motion picture, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's family entertainment.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, everybody out there listening in quarantine world.
This is our first episode that we're practicing social distancing through a podcast.
Yes, indeed. Oh, we're making it work, everybody.
Of course, and we picked a perfect movie to start out with, too.
Yes,
for
indeed.
it.
Yes, indeed. Well, listeners, as always, I'm Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay.
Yay!
Special quarantine edition.
Well, we're going to have quite a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the show, you guys. This is lots of fun.
So we invited. Well, we were supposed to talk to our guests in person, but world events kept us from doing it. But we can still do a FaceTime call
Yes,
and talk
indeed.
about Bedknobs and Broomsticks from 1971 with our friend Darren Elms.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, guys.
You were the first guest that we had on the show. You did Xanadu.
Yeah.
I know.
You were our very first guest.
We're like in the 40s now, so we're going on 50 episodes.
We've moved up a few decades now. Here we are.
Yeah, indeed. But you're not on our couch. You're not joining us from the couch with the cats. We are live via FaceTime. Thank you very much.
How are you holding up during all this?
Happy to be here.
I mean, yeah, how are you holding up during all this? How's this been treating you?
I don't know. I think I'm doing okay. I mean, it gets to my head sometimes, but I've been practicing social distancing for a while in my life. I feel like it's part of my identity. But I'm doing okay. Most of my family and friends are doing all right, and we're just doing the best we can with a very strange situation and circumstance.
Yeah,
it's
I'll tell you that the egg. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that the egg situation at Trader Joe's. I held some eggs for you a few weeks ago, and now it's really bounced back now. That was a weird.
God, I know.
That was
I'm
a weird
walking to the
week.
Supermarket and they're everywhere. It's crazy. But
Yeah,
you were
I think that
so kind.
Everyone just heard that people were buying eggs, so everyone just flocked to the grocery store.
Yeah.
To buy eggs that they probably didn't need, but we've since bounced back.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
But like you mentioned, I mean, now is the introvert's time to shine. I mean,
yes.
We've been practicing our whole lives. And I
feel like this is appropriate. This what we're doing, because the main character to me is the ultimate introvert.
Absolutely,
oh my goodness.
I feel like I got a lot of my introversion support from her as a child. I looked at her and saw her as a role model for someone who can get it done on her own.
This is true.
So I definitely have a past with this movie. I loved this movie as a little boy. I don't even remember the first time I saw it. Like, I think that I would have had to have just watched it on the Disney Channel when I was super young.
Yeah.
And I think for its initial first home video release in the 90s, my mom bought it, and it was just on steady rotation.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Darren?
So I was born in 1974, so I first was exposed to this movie probably in the late 1970s. We had something called On TV, I think it was called.
I remember On TV.
Cable, you'd select TV, on TV, and HBO. So we had on TV, and I'm pretty sure that my dad recorded it off that. So we had it on tape for ourselves as early as when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So that was my first time seeing it. I didn't see it in the theater because that, the release, predated me. But yeah, it was a big part of our life growing up. I mean, we watched that movie probably every year at some point, kind of like Mary Poppins. We also had Grease, Xanadu, of course. Yeah. We had these movies that we just watched over and over again that were, 70s, recordings.
And I grew up on all of the old live action Disney movies too. Like all of them, like That Darn Cat, Apple Dumpling Gang,
Witch Mountain.
Witch Mountain, so good. Mary Poppins, like all of them. And what's super fun now about Disney Plus is that they're all there. Pete had not seen That Darn Cat with Haley Mills, and we sat down and watched that weird movie when you go back and revisit it.
No, I watched it too.
Yeah.
I totally watched
Rowdy
it.
McDowell playing straight.
Elsa Lancaster was just, I forgot how funny she is in that movie. She's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, I love Haley Mills. I mean, she's, a huge part of my identity also growing up. But I mean, there's some little parts in that movie that I completely forgot about as a kid.
Yeah, for sure. I do remember as a kid watching the Cat from Outer Space. That was one like Disney live action movies that I was like, oh my God, this is too weird.
I used to love the $1 Million Duck with
in that canon.
Sandy Duncan. Love the $1 Million Duck.
Oh yeah.
And who was the guy that was in all of them? It was
Dean Jones.
Dean Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also the original Bobby and Company, which is interesting. He had a past in there as well. So he was mostly known for Disney movies.
Interesting.
Pete, when did you first watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
I can't recall exactly when, but I remember my sister and I, as kids, watching it and just thinking that it was like Mary Poppins for kids who read books. I don't know. That was kind of our take.
Sure.
We were just like, we're a little bit more indoorsy, a little bit more like city, rough around the edges, like these kids. And also, Miss Price. Well, Mary Poppins is a very like stern character, and she's supposed to be very patrician and, like not super motherly. I feel like Miss Price is even more so that character to these kids, and it takes even more to turn her around to like eventually like become like this loving like caregiver for them. But yeah, something about it to me was just like, okay, this movie is, while it's a Disney movie and half of it or a third of it takes place like under the sea and in this animated land, I just felt like this was more a little bit for kids who are a little bit like more worldly or smarter or something. I don't know what I thought or why I thought that. But here in LA, I spoke about this on the show in the past. Here in LA on the weekends, we had the Family Film Festival on KTLA. Darren, I don't know if you remember this. And,
the Popeye guy.
Yeah, the Popeye guy, exactly. I don't remember his name, but he would like show Popeye cartoons and he would draw. And that's where we would see Pippi Longstocking, but the ones like from Sweden that were dubbed into English.
With the dubbing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are amazing. But just like these kind of funky family movies. And that's, again, Cat from Outer Space and Witch Mountain and all those weirdo Disney movies. And this was aired there a lot. And just something about like the bed. And my sister had a day bed. So my sister
had a day bed too. We used to play Bedknobs and Broomsticks a lot because we also had a bedknob that would screw off.
That would turn,
too.
Yeah.
So jealous.
Yeah, so just something.
Do that.
I mean, it wasn't a day bed in the movie, but it was this, this old timey bed with like this brass frame, and so for us, that was something that we were like, oh, our bed is just like that. So yeah, we would play Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and I don't know, just the fact that she was a witch.
Yeah.
But she was like learning by mail. I don't know. It's so crazy.
She learns by mail order, but she's not but she's not like a pentagram, like Satan worshipping witch.
No.
She's a very family friendly witch.
Practical witch. She's a practical witch.
I think she's really just learning it because she's got this big country house,
I always like I mean, definitely it, fits into kind of her ambiance for sure, having that little studio and just living alone. But I feel like she did it for purpose. She did it for a reason, and she was doing it, for the war cause. And I don't know. I kind of admire her for, taking charge and trying to find her own way into something. That's always something I took from that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like a very specific type of little boy was watching Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a little more light in their loafers. They like to hang out with all the girls. But yeah, I would say this is the type of little boy that was either watching Bedknobs and Broomsticks or tuning in to Murder, She Wrote every Sunday night.
Oh, definitely. And I feel like a lot of people, their first exposure, people of my generation, their first exposure to her was probably Murder, She Wrote, or anyone younger than me. But this was my first exposure to Angela Lansbury, and she's one of my all-time favorite people ever. I mean, I've never met her. I would love to meet her. I have seen her in person, but I've never talked to her. I've always, she is my gay icon.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of gay icons out there. She's been mine. I just find her so, I don't know, charming, lovely, talented, and a little bit weird. She's not like conventionally beautiful or glamorous, but yet she plays these kind of campy, fun parts throughout her life and character roles. And it's just so interesting to me and has done so many different things. I just think she's incredible.
And she's like a remnant of like old Hollywood. I mean, she was making movies in like the 40s, like Gaslight that she got an Oscar nomination. That was like 43? And it's like, there's not very many of them left anymore.
Yeah. Nope, she's definitely one of the few left. And I was just thinking about last night because I was watching Murder, She Wrote, and she had so many different people from her life on that show. From actors from the 40s, 30s, 40s, well, probably 40s, 50s, and that she would bring on, as like guest stars on the show. And I'm just thinking, all these people are gone. She's the only one left. She outlived them all, as we all knew.
It's like her. But Ava Marie Saint, and then Olivia de Havilland. They're like the last women standing.
God bless. She's still ticking.
Yeah. We were talking last night just offhandedly, just kind of a throwaway remark as we were watching Murder, She Wrote. Do you think she passed on Harry Potter?
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Offered
she's
it
British.
to her.
I don't think of her as British, but she's been in America most of her life. At least her performing life. And I never even think of her as being like one of those British actors that would be in Harry Potter.
She's
that's a very good question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they probably, offered it to her very early on and she was just like, how many movies did you say?
Yeah, she's like, I've done the wish. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those. I like that interview that she gave, or like a statement about the new Beauty and the Beast, and she was pretty much just like, "Why?"
I agree.
The 91 one was perfect enough. Why?
But she's right. I mean, come on, let's be original. Do something new. It's not, I get it. It's a good story, and I know a new generation needs to see it. But I'm sorry, all the kids are watching the original cartoon as well.
Yeah, this is true. Do you have a favorite Angela Lansbury role or performance?
Oh God, it's probably this. Just because this is the most sentimental to me.
Sure.
And I don't know. There's something about Eglantine Price's character that I really relate to. I don't know if it's, if it happened accidentally or from watching this or just it's who I am, but I really see a lot of myself in how she lived and how she does things. She's private. She's a self-starter. She doesn't really like kids, at least in the beginning, but has a warm place for them by the end. She's a little kooky, she's into witchcraft. Not that I'm into witchcraft, but I love that she's, I don't know, like she's kind of different and fun. And in the beginning of the movie, she comes across as a little bit of a hard character and very aloof, but we learned that she's not really like that. She's actually a really lovely, warm person. She's just her own individual. And I kind of relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
She has a beautiful oceanside house.
This cottage.
Yes. Oh my God, that property.
Yeah. So did you know that the cut scenes with Roddy McDowall, he's after the house?
Oh, is he? That makes sense.
So there's numerous deleted scenes of this movie that have showed up in multiple cuts of it. Because that's the thing, is that there is a cut of this that's like probably 2 hours and 45 minutes. And they scaled it down to 2 hours, but they lifted entire subplots. And Rowdy McDowell
That's what I
has
heard.
scenes where he's talking to the woman that like kind of she works in like the post office and stuff. He's talking about and she mentions it to him that he wants her house. So that's like part of the weird kind of scenes where he's dropped in and he'll just appear. I guess that he's after her Oceanside real estate.
See, I always thought as a kid that he had like kind of had a crush on her or wanted to know like her attention or affection. I mean, they don't really play that up that much, but I was like, well, why else is he really, because he says something about like the spiritual needs of the children or something. I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, you know what I mean? There was something else going on. Because we know.
Because he's like a reverend or something, right?
Yeah, he's a pastor, a reverend,
but he's not like a priest
or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he wants that seaside property.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? I don't blame him. You know, it's pretty.
I love
pretty sweet.
I love that her first on-screen appearance is on this motorcycle with the sidecar. You know,
and there's yellow smoke.
There's like a sulfur smoke following it.
Yeah, and it's just like that. Just plays along to her. Just like quirky, interesting character that you were talking so much about. You know, it's just like she's definitely this person that the rest of the townspeople are like, oh my God, here comes this one, you know?
She's weird. She's a loner, you know, she's different. She's her own person. I love that. And I mean, she's an outsider. And I feel like I was an outsider growing up, being gay, but also just kind of being a little bit of an introvert, being kind of creative and weird. You know, it's like I identified with her because I thought she was pretty great, and she's a heroine in this movie and pretty awesome. So
yeah, for sure.
Before we get too into the movie, I wanted to give some background with Walt Disney and the production of this movie, just to kind of move ourselves into the story. Sure. So Walt Disney purchased the rights to this, and I believe Mary Poppins. I don't know if they were around the same time, but they were kind of within a few months or years of each other. And that was in 1945, and as they went into production of Mary Poppins, he had this movie on his mind as they were making a lot of that movie. As we kind of know about the production of Mary Poppins, P.L. Travers was not particularly very kind of smooth to work with, and she would often stonewall production, and he kind of kept this movie on the back burner of, if everything completely goes south with Mary Poppins, we can always just sort of recast this movie and make Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And he even had the Sherman Brothers writing some of the songs as they were making Mary Poppins, and there's even songs that were supposed to be in Mary Poppins that ended up in this movie. The Beautiful Bryony, I believe, was written with Mary Poppins in mind, and then it just ended up in Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And then the production of Mary Poppins went off, so this went on the back burner for a few years, and then it kind of went back into production in the late 60s, and they offered the role to Julie Andrews. She said no, because it was too similar to what she had done, so they pursued other actresses. I believe Lynn Redgrave was on the short list of possible as like other actresses to be considered. I even read Faye Dunaway too, which I don't know if I could read Faye Dunaway in this movie. Like, let alone working with children or singing. I just don't think that would have worked out. And
well, it wouldn't.
There would have been a book about the making of that film out by now, for sure. If Faye Dunaway played her,
Faye would have eventually been fired, just like she was on Sunset Boulevard when they discovered that she actually can't sing.
God.
So I believe Judy Carney in Laugh-In?
Yes. So
Judy Carney was pretty close to getting the role. She even did test recordings of some of the songs. There's songs circulating online of some of her test recordings, and then they landed on Angela. And right when they cast Angela, Julie Andrews actually reached out to Disney, like, that she wanted to reconsider it just because her career owes a lot to Walt Disney and that company, just kind of where kind of it really made her career in the 60s. So she went back and said, I'll still do it, but they had already cast Angela.
Oh, wow.
So, and
I did not know that.
It's kind of interesting when you read a little bit about Angela Lansbury's kind of what she thinks about this movie. And I don't really think that she cares for it all that much. I read quotes that she calls her performance very by the numbers, and I know that she did not like doing the special effects work in it.
I think.
She's very much. You know what I've noticed on Murder, She Wrote? I'm just going to throw this in there.
Yeah.
Watching it now, so many of I know she wouldn't do her own stunts, but there are so many doubles of Angela Lansbury, of Jessica Fletcher running around in that show. She wants to be in the acting. She doesn't really want to do much of the other stuff. Sure. You know, I think she's, when she's on camera and it's about her, yes, she's all in, but the other stuff, she just isn't that into. I think she's very much a theater actress, very much into the craft and the performance, and the rest of that stuff just doesn't really appeal to her. That's the vibe I'm getting watching this show. Yeah. You know?
And this movie also kind of had pioneering special effects work. They were working on early blue screen stages too, and they're probably very particular of how they would shoot scenes, knowing that some of these would be animated. And there's a lot of just marionette and special effect work going on, and I could see Angela just kind of being a little impatient that it might upstage her performance or the process of acting too.
Yes.
Interesting.
Totally.
Scott and I both listen off and on to the RuPaul podcast, and he very much loves Murder, She Wrote, and has mentioned the body double thing. And
he did.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. I thought I was crazy.
No,
but
he
I
mentioned it
so much.
He said that just what you said. He said, keep an eye on Jessica, and if you don't see her face that it's Angela, it's probably not Angela.
He's right.
And I couldn't believe that. I was like, I don't buy it. But then you just said it right now. I was like, oh my God.
She would go into a day of production. She would do her sides, and then she was out. That's
some superstar kind of shit right there. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger does that.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore. That's some old school business. Yeah, but I think that's what she means when she refers to the acting as by the numbers. It's like the special effects and all of that stuff. Speaking of the marionettes, as we were watching the movie yesterday, there was the credits at the beginning. There was something about a special effects consultants or something like that, and in there was Bob Baker. And I was wondering if it was the Bob Baker from L.A., the Marionette Theater.
Oh,
because there are so much
maybe you know why? Because
so much
there
puppetry.
Is the substitutionary locomotion is all puppets. You don't think about it that way, but it probably is.
Yeah, and so much of it is marionette puppets, and that's what his company specializes in. And it's spelled Baker with just one K, the way his name is spelled. So I was like, I bet you that's Bob Baker, from L.A., from the puppet theater. But I don't know, I could be wrong, could be just a complete coincidence, but I just happened to mention or notice that.
I want to believe it is.
Yeah, right.
I'm
yeah.
believe.
So all right, so where were we in this movie?
So we get the introduction of these cockney children. What does the trailer call them?
Oh yeah,
I forget what it calls them.
It called them orphans for one thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is that these kids kind of have this sad backstory that the movie kind of skips over. And when you watch the deleted scenes where they're having dinner with Miss Price, they sort of go into that their parents are dead.
So are their parents dead?
Their parents are dead. They say that in the deleted scene. And the woman that was taking care of them died a week before in a bombing.
Oh, Jesus.
Too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing about, the start of this movie. It's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's just that thing that in the, during World War II in London was being bombed. So they took the kids and they sent them out to the country to just live with strangers. And we know, that happened. That was a historical thing. But they didn't specify at the beginning of the movie that these children's parents were dead. You just assume that they got sent away, to go and to live with some foster parents until the bombing ended. But there are some scenes in the movie where they're just like, oh, well, we're going to go live on our own now.
We're going to go walk back to London.
Oh, yeah. They're totally bold. I know. They just totally want to do their own thing. They don't want to be there. And by the way, can we discuss, they are so fucking hard to understand. Even as a kid was what did they just say?
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're talking about. There's so many cockney references about food and just the way they kind of talk.
We have that clip.
I can understand Angela, but I cannot understand those kids still. I have a hard time making out what they're saying.
You should play that clip.
Yeah.
I was always obsessed with all the food that they're mentioning in this scene.
Yeah, their Cockney accents are crazy. Some of the food is nuts. I remember my sister trying to decipher it and us trying to figure out, what exactly.
Bubble and squeak, toad and it's like,
bubble and squid.
Funny.
Yeah, toad in the hole we'd heard of, but
toe in the hole. But they say it like toe in the hole.
Toad in the hole.
There's no consonants. I'm like, what are you saying?
Yeah, but then Miss Price's menu is also just as bananas. Mm-hmm. So,
oh yes,
we can hear that now.
Please don't bother to whisper. I'm exceptionally keen of hearing. You are planning to run back to London? If you have any more plotting to do, please do it elsewhere where I shan't have to listen to it. I'm afraid I don't know much about what children eat. You'll have to make do as I do. Is there anything particular that you fancy?
Sausage and mash, bubble and squeak, toad in the hole, fried fish. Oh, anything at all.
I'm afraid you won't find any fried foods in this house.
No fried food?
No.
How'd you keep your health?
Cabbage buds, rose hips, glissop seed, elm bark, whortle yeast, and stewed nettles.
That's some like Wiccan barefoot Contessa shit right there.
She was like vegan before it was trendy. You know what I mean? Like listen, I mean.
So can you just find all of these in your garden? In like your British garden?
Glissop seeds?
Well, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know half of what those are except for like rose hips.
I know. I was like, isn't that in my shampoo? Rose? I don't know.
Totally.
It's one thing to be vegetarian. She's pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
She's eating bark. She said bark.
Yes.
She said bark at one point.
She is more than your garden variety,
yeah.
English lady, that's for sure.
Although, let me say this. There is this story about Audrey Hepburn and about how when she was fleeing the Nazis and just running through, the hills of Belgium, just very the end of Sound of Music, that that the story is crazy, that she survived off of her wits, in the woods, by drinking water out of tulip bulbs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, drinking water out of tulip bulbs and then eating something, and it was in one of the things that she said was... Wow.
We should also mention that Angela, left England for America because of the Blitz. They left, I believe, either at the beginning or during World War II, from my understanding. Yeah, so that was part of her life story.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Was that time, Yeah.
I believe that she was a contract player with MGM. I think that Gaslight... It's Gaslight, right? That she was in?
Yeah, I think that was her first
Gaslight and
film.
Dorian Gray, I believe, were all MGM.
Yes.
What about Manchurian Candidate?
Manchurian Candidate, I think, was Columbia, but that was in the early '60s when that had all gone away.
Yeah.
I also think that she should have won the Oscar for Manchurian Candidate. That's a really interesting role that it kind of turns your expectations on an actress. I remember being in high school and discovering the Manchurian Candidate, and I was more familiar with Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Angela Lansbury, and you see her just being this bitchy mom in Manchurian Candidate, and she's so good. She lost the Oscar to
Patty Duke.
Patty Duke, yep.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that was the year
she won the Golden Globe, but she lost the Oscar, and she never won an Oscar except for the honorary one she got maybe 10 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, it was only a few years ago. I remember that she got it with...
I thought it was 10. But yeah,
she got it with Angelina Jolie. Yeah. I remember.
Yes.
But that Oscar year is the year that Joan accepted the Oscar for Miracle Worker too,
because that's what Patty Duke won for.
Mm-hmm.
How old was Patty Duke? 14?
When she won, she was young. I'm not even sure.
That's crazy. My favorite Oscar moment with Angela Lansbury is her and B. Arthur singing on stage.
Oh, that's right. We always see that clip whenever we go into quads.
I know. I'll find that clip. Okay, so we have the kids are now staying with Miss Price. They're attempting to plot their escape, but this is the night that she tries her hand for the first time at that broomstick.
So great.
Professor Emilius Brown sends her the broomstick. It's a part of like her lesson plan or like her coursework. And he had previously gave her cosmic creepers. Yeah, I like that.
Cosmic creepers.
I like that little line that she doesn't believe in giving silly
poison
name for
dragon's
animals.
liver. All those goodies in her workshop come from him. Yes.
Yeah, he's sending her all this stuff through the mail, but it turns out that it works for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool. Like she's like got the like hoodoo or like whatever that it takes to like make all this like shystery like magic spells.
Well, yeah, he's
work.
a second-rate musician.
Yeah,
magician, and he, is sending her all this stuff that he's assuming is just junk. That's kind of, I guess, would be things you would think a witch would need or want for her thing, but she has that magic touch and actually makes them work, which is amazing.
That scene though, where she's fumbling around on the broom, and it's shot in in this dark, barn, I guess. Mm-hmm. And this stunt double is like hopping around.
You get some good pratfalls in that scene.
Yeah, there's some really good.
I did try to look up if I could find the woman who was her stunt double, and I could not find it.
Ah, wow. They probably didn't credit that kind of stuff back
then. She probably went on to do her stunts and she wrote as well.
Right. Riding that bike around Cabot Cove.
Mm-hmm.
We always get so excited in the Universal Tour when they go in Cabot Cove. I feel like we always cheer whenever they mention Murder, She Wrote.
How many seasons did that show last? Very,
a lot.
Lasted probably until 92 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost 10 years, if not more, I think.
Wow.
It was a long time.
That's insane.
She never won an Emmy for that either. She was nominated, I think, every single year. Oh my God. She's kind of like the Susan Lucci of the evening Emmys.
Yeah.
She never won. And I remember one time watching it towards the end, and they go to each actress as they're announcing it, and she just looked so just like, seriously, again, I'm not going to win, right? Like, you could see it on her face. She was kind of pissed, and then she didn't win, and I was like, yep, there you go.
That show is so insane because it didn't really have a core cast other than her, right? Because every episode...
It was her and the sheriff sometimes.
The sheriff, Tom Bosley, and then it was replaced by a guy who actually was a parent of one of the kids at my grade school. So I remember seeing him a lot. Ooh. The one who took over for Tom Bosley. But and then there was like Seth, her friend, who was in sometimes. But yeah, that was it. She and some cousins, and I think her nephew was in a few of them. Grady, I think he showed up.
I need to see like a family tree flowchart of all of Jessica and her nieces and nephews and sisters and uncles and aunts.
Well, last night the episode I watched was great because she plays her cousin as well, Emma McGill, who's a British, kind of a, I don't know how to describe it, like a music hall performer, like a very old-timey music hall performer. So they gave her red hair and all the Mrs. Lovett makeup. It was so great because she got to play kind of that type of character, which she was known for, you know, and instead of playing kind of the more, clean-cut, straight-laced kind of Jessica Fletcher. It was kind of great.
That's really cool.
Speaking of the Miss Lovett, it's interesting when you hear her voice and singing and just her vocal range. She's doing something completely different singing Sondheim as she is singing the Sherman Brothers, which I think is pretty cool. Of when you listen to The Worst Pies in London and how she delivers that, and then when she's singing Substitutionary Locomotion, it's just kind of different ways of singing. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's incredible. She's an incredible actress. She has so much range. She's done so many different things. I mean, one of the most fascinating things about her, just an actress, and I know we're getting off at Bedknobs here, but she played characters that were much older than her when she was young. Mm-hmm. When she was in her 30s and 40s, she was playing like moms of actors. Like I think Lawrence Harvey in Manchurian Candidate was within a few years of her age, and she was playing his mother. She was kind of typecast as that kind of kind of dour, kind of older, scary mom character for a while. And, she kind of had a reboot when she did Mame on Broadway in the 60s. It was kind of this vivacious, sexy, fun role. that she got to play. And just to see her go from these different types of characters throughout her career, no matter what age she was, I just think it's fascinating, her trajectory.
Yeah, for sure.
I forgot that she was in MAME. Do you think that she held it against Lucy?
Oh, God.
That she got the movie over?
Which is a shame. It was not very good, Yeah. But I would have loved to have seen her in the movie, but oh well. And
Angela and B. Arthur were also kind of best squirrel friends, right? You always see all these pictures of them together.
Yeah, they got along. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people B got along with, but they liked each other.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of good on Angela, because
I could see them both talking shit about Lucy at like the Golden Globes numerous years.
Totally.
Oh, man. Well, okay, so how does the bedknob itself become like...
Well, she gets the letter that Roddy McDowall delivers that they're closing down the mail order school of witchcraft. Mm-hmm. And the kids have found out that this woman is a witch. We saw her flying. So they attempt to sort of blackmail her. It doesn't really work per se, but she ends up giving them a spell as like collateral. And it's the traveling spell. Oh, and that's what they use to go to London.
Right. And Paul needs something of his that's like on his person. Mm-hmm. And that's when he pulls out all those little things.
Lovely bit of string.
Lovely bit of string.
A broken piece of glass.
In his pocket. And this giant bedknob. Mm-hmm. That he just has.
And a giant bedknob in this 6-year-old's pocket, which is as big as his hand.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
That also is filled with broken glass and string.
Broken glass and string.
I always used to love the song that she sings right before they get on the bed when they're talking about
the age
where they're talking about Charlie.
Yeah.
And the age of not believing. I love that song.
It's very sweet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 11, right? So he's like
11 going on 12.
11 going on 12. So he's like not ready to. Okay, so he's gonna stay, right? And they're like getting on the boat. They're getting on the bed and like getting their like hair all tied up, and they're like babushkas or whatever. And like the spell is starting, and this cat, all right, this show cat, Cosmic Creepers. But what this production probably put this poor show cat through to like mat that hair.
You got to get them greased up before filming.
What did they rub this cat down? Because that cat looks so jacked up.
That is one jacked up pussy. He is a mess. Hysterical though. Really funny as a kid.
Yeah.
I thought he was really funny.
His
timing was impeccable.
Yeah, great. He's got like these mats like falling off him. His one ear's folded down. Scott thought his one ear was like clipped, but it's like folded down. You know, his tail's all scraggly, and I'm just like...
He's got a lazy eye. Yeah. His broken tail.
He's like... Yeah, the tail's all like crunchy.
Mangy. He's a mangy beast.
But I'm just like...
And kind of mean. He's mean and kind of hissy.
Oh,
and,
yeah. He's like swipes at all of them. But also
very skeptical of her, which I love. I always loved Cosmic's kind of like... He looks at her kind of with a raised eyebrow, like, seriously, bitch? You're going to do this?
Yeah.
And, he constantly questions her choices,
yeah,
which I think is really funny.
Yeah. He's like, I live in this house with you, but I got sent to you. I'm not your cat quite yet. But, yeah.
And it's kind of her only friend. Like, he talks to the cat about how to ride the broom. She's like, am I doing this right? He's like, I don't know.
They cut to the cat shaking his head.
Yes.
Like, he's like saying no.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Scott was like, how did they do that? I was like, they probably had like 4 or 5. And they're like, this one's really good at like gestures. Like he'll shake his head, he'll like nod up and down. But this one's really good at like hissing and growling,
Yes.
They probably had different ones to do different things. But just the amount of whatever motor oil, whatever they put in that cat's hair to make it look like... Because it seems like if you give that cat a good wash, it's not the kind of cat that would get mats. They just created them to make him look, grungy for the movie. So, plus it's like, it's a time frame, that PETA wasn't on set, like monitoring what they're doing to this poor cat. So
there may have been a cat wrangler.
They did whatever they needed to make this cat look as gross as possible.
Time to wax the cat.
Yeah.
Time to get the wax.
get out the oil and lube up this cat before filming every day.
Yeah. It was successful though. He
clipped down his little ear.
Yeah. Yeah, did they folded it down with a paper clip? I don't know how they made that that ear stay that way, but whatever they did, it was not monitored by the Humane Society.
Yes.
But it was successful and it made us laugh.
Controversial, but successful. Yeah,
but that's all that counts. It made us laugh as kids,
totally,
and to this day.
So they take off on the bed on this acid trip. This is kind of like the same stuff that they did in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, it gets very psychedelic.
Yes, indeed.
For a moment.
Yeah. It's really cool though, the way that at first it's just okay, we're just flying above the country, but it's okay, we got to get to London. So it's just warp speed. And
it's going through the black hole thing from 2001.
Yes. But yeah, it's super psychedelic. All the colors are changing. It's got that watery, waterfall effect, on the lens. And it is very reminiscent of Willy Wonka and with all the psychedelic colors and all that. But it was the same year, right?
I think
what
so.
year is it?
Yeah, close. I think for sure. Yeah.
Willy Wonka may
Early
have been
70s?
1970. And this is 71.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was 1970, right? So very close as far as special effects wise, but it was successful because that's the thing. You're how are they going to get that? How are they going to get that bed through that window? But it's it's magic.
Yeah,
it's magic. It's special effects and voodoo. But eventually we get to London and it's completely covered in dense
never
fog.
mind. Willy Wonka and this came out the same year, 71.
See that?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. But Willy Wonka was produced by a cereal company, so it was not produced by a major motion picture studio. So probably not any of the same people working on it. At any rate, we land in disgusting London. Looks pretty gross.
London as shot on a soundstage.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. But it has that awesome London fog, and the kids are see, smell that fresh London air.
The nice suey air. Can't you smell it?
soot, yeah. It's all full of soot. And but this leads to this crazy Portobello Road sequence.
Well, they find Emilius Brown, and they find out that he's pretty much a con man,
yes,
a kind of a down on his luck magician that's just been making an extra income squatting in this abandoned mansion
with a bomb that's undetonated in the front yard. Yes.
And so they're trying to find the complete spell from his book where he's been sending her all of the class information. That's kind of what they're pursuing for most of the movie.
Yeah, she wants that spell. That's the whole reason, is that she went to London. She needs that spell for her. We haven't learned yet what she's going to do with it, but she says it's important for the war effort, and she needs this particular spell that's in the Spells of Astaroth book.
I love
which he has half of.
I love the musical scene because he kind of sees that she can make this magic work, and his intentions is he's going to take her on the road as his assistant.
He's going to make her his sidekick.
And she's going to be pretty much making all of the magic happen for real, but he's going to take credit for it.
Yes.
So they sing their little Eglantine song on the bookshelves. Super cute.
I remember as a kid just being Eglantine.
Yeah,
just thinking
that's
that was
definitely
so
an old person name.
Yes.
I just thought me and my sister thought it was so funny as kids that her name was Eglantine. I'd call her Eglantine. She'd be shut up. I do love the Emilius Brown and his poster, of himself and his magician's assistant woman in this very circus,
showgirl kind of outfit.
Yeah,
the
showgirl outfit with the headdress and all of that. And you just kind of, at that moment, you see the woman in the painting, and you're just okay, I see where this is going. And then cut to later on in the movie, where he sees this ghostly visage of Angela.
That was probably a fun day on set when they had to do that one.
Is she walking like the tracks
down the train tracks?
Like
Yes. Just slowly walking down the train track in the full showgirl outfit. Oh my God.
Yes.
Perfection.
So they're going to go to Portobello Road because there's a lot of book vendors on Portobello Road that they can maybe
we're missing
find
half the book, right?
Right.
We're missing half the book, and that's where she thinks the spell is in that second half of the book, which is missing.
Right.
And the whole reason he didn't send it to her to begin with, because he didn't have it.
Which I guess that book vendors would just sell half of an old antique book.
Totally.
I guess.
Well, it's got to be at Portobello Road. Of course, let's go.
Everything's there.
So this
Everything.
this Portobello Road sequence, I mean, only in the 70s would you halt almost 10 minutes of your movie with a song and dance numbers. I love that. You would never see that in a movie today.
Yeah.
And wasn't it a lot longer?
Yes, it was.
I kind of remember that I believe that they edited it down because I've seen the unedited version.
Same.
Yeah.
And the order is different for the sequences. It's much longer. But the one that's on Disney Plus right now is the one that I always watched as a kid, which is the shortened version.
That was just like the home video release. And I believe in the longer cut, the dancers from the different countries more interact with themselves too.
With each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that. I always loved that dance sequence just because I feel like what I love about this movie as well is it's such a portrait of English history. I mean, you have the Bayeux Tapestry in the beginning, which is like, Anglo-Saxon like history, which is the beginning of everything. It's inspired by that. Then of course it's this moment in their history with the Blitz, but then you have all the different cultures of the colonies of England that are dancing. It like Scotland's not a colony, but you have Irish, you have Scottish, you have Indian, you have the Caribbean, all these different pieces of the English empire, which I think is so cool that they chose to do that. I don't know. As a kid, I found that fascinating and very informative.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right, and that was just something that we were kind of talking about last night as we were watching it as well. Just like just the scope of like the British Empire and like the people that live there and that are participating and just like even the women, because it's one thing for them to be soldiers there, so you're like it's wartime, so there's soldiers there representing these countries and all that, but Scott's like, but why are all these women there? And I'm like, well, they probably just live there.
But I kind of wonder if some of them were prostitutes, possibly. Right. I mean, we are at Portobello Road, and they are kind of flirty with Emilius Brown, and he's like, go away. And I was like, oh, wait, those might be prostitutes. I didn't really realize that as a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, huh. Cheeky.
They're just like fancy lady dancers.
And I think it's it kind of shows how talented the Sherman brothers are, that there's a lot going on in this scene, but it all flows together. Like there's a lot of things coming at you, but it all just flows as one song. Yeah. And just how it's arranged and choreographed, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And that also, too, is kind of why I thought as a kid that this movie was a little bit more like for smarter kids, because like in Mary Poppins, it's like there's dancing, but they're all like just chimney sweeps. But like in this one, they're like, soldiers from around the world,
Yeah, it was kind of much more layered. Yeah, definitely.
So like you're getting this little like mini history lesson as you're watching it. So that's kind of that's how I saw it as a kid. That was my interpretation.
There needs to be like a parade in Disneyland that just recreates all of this.
Oh God, that'd be so amazing. We have to talk about the potential remake for this too, because that's going to happen.
Oh, I have thoughts. We'll go into that. I've already cast it. I've already cast it in my mind.
All right. Well, let's power through this so we can get to that section. Oh man. So they don't find the other half of the book,
but somebody finds them though when they're trying to look for the book, because one of these mobsters. What does this guy actually do that ends up having the other half?
They call him Bookman, and then that's like his henchman.
But he almost participates in like organized crime though. He has all of these henchmen that are just out on Portobello Road, and one of them eavesdrops that they're looking for the other half of this book.
Right.
And he ends up bringing them to their little bookshop by gunpoint.
Yes.
And I like the image of the kids like rolling this bed down these stairs too.
Yeah, they bring the bed with them, which I think is, was end up being a very smart move.
Well, yeah,
you're kind of like, why did they bring the bed in?
But just this bed just like falling down these stairs.
They can't just leave it out parked on the street. Like they're Didn't get a
Let me
ticket.
look up the
It would get a ticket. It would get ticketed. Yes.
The actor
Toad. Worse,
the actor that
Toad.
plays this guy. He was a big character actor at this time. Hold on.
There's probably some sort of like Bookman probably means something more to,
Well, he
time,
wants
what
the
we-
same spell that she wants, and we don't know why he wants it. And maybe, I bet you, this is
that's
probably
true.
cut from the film. It's like hit the backstory on what he wants it for.
I
It's
forgot
probably
about
something-
And I take it that his intentions with it might be a little more sinister too.
Yes,
So
exactly.
he's played by Sam Jaffe, who is a big character actor. He was in The Day the Earth Stood Still, Asphalt Jungle, and Ben-Hur. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Asphalt Jungle. So he was just kind of an old character actor
Interesting.
that worked a lot in Hollywood.
Okay.
He was good in that. He was creepy. Like,
Yeah.
I remember being intimidated by him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So and Paul has this children's book
Yes.
too that he found in the house, and that's where they
Yes,
end up
from the
escaping
nursery
to.
that
I
they
love
were in,
this
yeah.
children's book too. It looks so 70s, and it's not something that you would ever see in a children's nursery in the 40s.
No.
Oh, he got it in the abandoned house that Dr. Brown is squatting in.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a comic book almost. It's
Right.
like it looks like a paper felt book that's been bound together. It's,
Yes. But the the illustrations look like, yes, they look like a storybook of a Disney movie that you
Correct.
would have had at the time. You know what I mean? Like you just have this big like Jungle Book, Disney's Jungle Book, storybook, and you open it up and it's these big full page drawings like that.
And
it
I believe
reminded me of that.
Paul he recognized the Star of Astaroth in his book,
Yeah.
and that's where they end up escaping to.
Sure.
Yeah. See, so the thing is, it's in his book. He knows about it, but nobody's taking Paul very seriously throughout this movie. He has some very important information, which we'll talk about later. But we know that the Star of Astaroth exists in the Isle of Nabubu, right? I
Yes.
believe that's the name of it, and that's where they need to go. So the book takes them there. Yeah.
The Isle of Naboombu that is populated by all of like Robin Hood and his buddies.
The leftover Robin Hood characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I actually think this was before Robin Hood.
I think it is because Robin Hood's like
And Disney at this time, animation was kind of going through a transition where they would reuse a lot of their same character design because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
all of
a lot
these
of animals.
all of
A
these
lot of
characters
animals.
from the island of Labumbu ended up kind of getting recirculated, and I think that numerous Disney projects, one of them being Robin Hood.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah, the lion character is Sir John, or not Sir John, King John. I mean, he's basically King John with like more hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, kind of revisiting this movie throughout the years, I find I have the least amount of patience with the animated scenes.
The soccer game is way too long.
It is.
It's way too
So, like, they're kind of cute. I used to like them as a kid, but when I get older, I just want to skip over it.
Yeah.
I usually skip through it. It's not my favorite part of the movie. Even as a kid, I didn't love it, which
Yeah.
is interesting because I did like cartoons, but I don't know. I just, it's the Mary Poppins thing. I do like that sequence as well, but it's that moment where kind of the younger kids get to kind of get into the story a little bit more, be entertained. The parents can go to the bathroom, get concessions. I don't know, but it's just, it's a little weak. Like it's very slapstick.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know. It never was my favorite part of the movie. And I also don't love the animation from that period from Disney. I find it a little crude.
Sure.
The drawing's not that great.
It was the
very
transitional
repetitive.
time in animation. We're going out of the golden age of animation from the Jungle Book, and we're going into like the dark period of the 70s where they weren't making as much money anymore.
Right.
Too.
Okay.
So they kind of they had to. That's why the productions weren't kind of as good.
I think the some of the stuff under the sea, beautiful briny sea. I think that's
my favorite part of that,
charming.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sequence is charming. But the soccer game. I mean, come on, it's sports.
Yeah, we're watching this game in real time.
It's a real time soccer game.
I'm all about a marine ballroom scene.
Yeah,
Once we get
exactly.
to the field, well, and
See?
they call it They call it soccer.
They
It should
do.
be
They call it
football.
soccer.
It should be football, right?
Yep.
We're in England. I always thought that was weird too.
It was an American studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just like nobody's going to get that. So, but I mean, so if we all fast forwarded through it last night, we can fast forward.
So they end up getting the star, which is over King John's, like King John's neck, and they ended up bringing it back with them to London, to the English countryside.
Yes,
but the star does not come back with them because the star is in animation, and it didn't quite make the translation to live action.
Nope.
Yeah, it couldn't exist in both worlds, and she's okay with that because she's like, I kind of figured,
I mean, and then Paul kind of says the obvious that the spell is just in the back of the comic book.
All the time. It was there the
whole time.
The whole time.
If they just would have listened to Paul.
Through about half the movie.
Yeah.
If they'd just listened to Paul.
Although it took him a minute. They fully were just like, give her some time. She's got to think. And he's like, I know it. They're like, shut up. It took him a minute.
Paul.
Yeah. To finally throw the comic book on the table and just be like, you mean this, dummies? Like,
he recites it. He recites the spell.
There you go.
She's like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
And he says it, and she's like, that's it.
Yeah.
And they have the spell.
For substitutionary locomotion. That's a cool.
Yes.
That's a cool.
Traguna, Macoites, Tricorum, Sanctus Dei. See, it's just amazing. You hear these things as kids, and you don't even need a cue. You just know the word.
Yeah.
Because
you can,
they're so part
you can
of
just
your
chant it in the sing-song.
Yep.
Because that's the thing, is that she originally just says them, and it doesn't work, but Amelia Brown says that you have to put some, pizzazz to it. You have to kind of sing it.
Beat, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rhythm.
You mind if I have a go?
Oh, of course not.
Now come along, you lot. We need all the help we can get.
Traguna, Macoides, Tricorum, Sanctus Dei. Traguna, Macoides, Tricorum, Sanctus Dei.
Substitutionary locomotion, mystic power that's far beyond the wildest notion. It's so weird, and yet wonderful to see. Substitutionary locomotion, come to me. Traguna, Macoides, Tricorum, Sanctus Dei.
Macoides and Tricorum, Sanctus Dei.
I don't want locomotionary substitution or remote in transitory convolution. Only one precise solution is the key. Substitutionary locomotion it must be. Traguna, Macoides and Tricorum, Sanctus Dei.
When she's dancing around the shoes and she's reciting this and she's pointing down at the shoe and she's singing that, she looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
She's cool.
She looks so cool. She's dancing around it in a circle and she's pointing down and she's got I mean, we were talking about her outfit and how period accurate or not.
Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube? I think that Glamour does them, and they have a fashion historian, and they dissect movie costumes, and they go into if Rose's outfit from the Titanic that she gets in the boat with is completely historically accurate. I think that they might have a few problems with what Angela Lansbury is wearing in this movie.
I mean, it's a wool suit.
Borderline it's borderline Partridge Family.
It is.
You really break it down.
It's a little 70s.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it does remind me of what the nuns would wear in my elementary school, because they weren't wearing full black and white habits. They were just wearing very, late 70s, early 80s nuns.
Yeah,
it's
just a vest and a blouse and a skirt.
A vest, a blouse, and a skirt. That was kind of their uniform. But yeah, her blouse was very very billowy, just blouson, and it was this cool lavender color.
Mm-hmm. Just a cute little pencil skirt.
Yeah, but it's just, it's wool, and she's got the matching coat. And is it tweed? I don't know. You can't tell. I couldn't even tell on our TV.
I think it's a tweed.
It's just or this wool blend. This is the outfit in that vibrating bed toy that we found.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. That still blows me away, guys. I've never seen.
So our friend Brian, who was just a guest on our previous Hairspray episode, he knows a lot about this movie. So he sent me little factoids about it. That's where I found out about some of like the Judy Carney casting, and there's like a recording of her singing this song that they recorded. And he showed me a picture of an action figure of Angela Lansbury on the bed.
That bed, it said that it has like a special like mechanism so it won't fall off the table. I mean,
it's like a motel quarter bed.
Yeah.
You put quarters in and it vibrates. I mean, basically, that's what they were selling.
But how much fun would you have had playing with that as a little kid?
A Miss Price
I just want to
doll?
see what it does. Like, if it starts gyrating and then it kind of moves off the table.
We'll
like,
post a picture of it on our Instagram account, and I'm going to do some research to see how much this might cost on eBay if I were to buy it.
It can't cost that much.
I want to see if I can get a hold of it.
Either, yeah.
And then there's a Bedknobs and Broomsticks game, and I don't know what it comes with, but every time I went onto YouTube and you just search Bedknobs and Broomsticks game, all that comes up is a football game. That's all that comes up is a soccer game, and I'm just like sifting, and I'm just like, no, and I'm putting like board game, vintage, Bedknobs and Broomsticks vintage home game, nothing. So there's like all that exists is images and links to eBay, but I couldn't find anybody. And that's a big thing on YouTube is people playing old games,
And this was also a very trial and error time with movie marketing with products. Yeah. That they didn't always work.
Yeah.
That I feel like Star Wars really cracked that code of how you put movies in like toys. But I didn't know that they created them for this movie. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. This Eglantine, I'm just going to put it up to the camera so you can just see her one more time.
I can't. It's just...
I love her.
I'm dumbfounded. I've never ever seen that before. And I thought I've seen a lot of things, guys. I've never seen that before.
Self-propelled action bed moves in all directions, changes direction on contact. Mystery action prevents bed from falling off table. Oh my goodness!
Doesn't it do everything but fly? It says or something, which is what it's supposed to do.
So does it sort of get wound up like a race car that like you drag it on the ground and then it goes?
I don't know. I'd imagine maybe just a wind up kind of a thing, and it just vibrates like those hotel beds, like you were saying. Put a quarter in. Okay, Bedknobs and Broomsticks game for 2 players, ages 5 to 10. So if you have a third sibling, too bad. Fun and skill. Be the first person to balance your magic bed knob on top of your growing stack of bedposts. That tells me nothing.
Okay.
No.
So everybody gets a bed. So, okay, there's only 2 of you, and you each get a bed knob, and then you've got to stack bedposts. I don't know how you do that. But you can't let your bed knob fall. Fun and skill. I love that it's for 2 players only.
Yeah. Sorry, Carrie. Just for Paul and Charlie. You can take the bed. You can take the couch.
Yeah,
that's another thing that I think is so weird. They make her sleep on the couch and the boys get the bed.
Get the bed. I thought so too.
Well, I'm going to let that go. But.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you could take the bed, Carrie. I'm like, oh my God, what a bitch. Like, poor Carrie.
I know. She's the girl. She's the one girl. She has to sleep in this like weird couch.
I did look up
window thing.
Cindy O'Callaghan.
She's the only one that continued to act, right?
She continued to act, and I believe that she was on EastEnders, and that was her only. That was kind of what that was her last big project, and that probably ended in like the late 90s.
I want to say that there was a some sort of a screening of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I don't know if it was in England or not. It might have been in New York. I'm not sure. Where all 3 kids showed up for it. Angela didn't show up, but she did like a pre-message for the screening. But all the kids got together, so you got to see them all, which was kind of interesting. Yeah,
that's good. Didn't one of the didn't the boy in Mary Poppins die?
He died of like malaria.
He did. Ooh. Drug overdose, or I think he had a drug problem.
No, I think it was. I think that he got. I think
the Peter Pan kid.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of him.
Yeah, he definitely.
I think that he passed away from like malaria or something.
He just had like some
what?
disease.
Oh, wow!
When he was world traveling. Yeah,
That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the actor who was Peter Pan, Bobby Driscoll, who was in a bunch of live action stuff as well.
That's what I'm thinking of with Treasure Island. Yeah,
yeah. He like went off and like he was partying with like Warhol in the factory for a while and everything.
Really?
Yeah, and then he was like so hard into drugs that he ended up dying, and nobody knew about it because he was just like living like homeless in New York for like. So
and
long.
He was put in like a pauper's grave.
He was in a potter's field.
And I believe that the
yes.
Disney company ended up reaching out and they actually got his body to be buried.
They did.
Wow.
Because he's a Disney legend.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
That's the thing, though. Disney legend is like
He won the kid Oscar.
He did.
Yeah. Do you know who the last person to win the junior Oscar was, Darren?
Junior Oscar?
Give me a year.
Yeah.
Oh... This is probably early 60s. I can't remember what year.
Probably Haley Mills.
Yeah, it was Haley Mills.
Yeah.
She said that she didn't even know that she won it. I was reading an interview in Entertainment Weekly a few years ago where they're talking to her about this because they just did a little write-up on the Junior Oscar, and she says that they just sent it to her in the mail.
Oh, my God.
And she just found this like little Oscar, and apparently she had won.
Huh.
Thanks.
They need to bring back the Junior Oscar.
She's like, I didn't even get to go to the Vanity Fair party. Thanks.
I mean, the BAFTAs have their Rising Star Award. Can't they do that for the Oscars?
Right?
It'd be nice.
I mean, but they should do it like as needed, right? Not just have it. They would just have it every year if there's no kid that.
The BAFTAs have a Rising Star category every year.
Oh, Rising Star is different. It's not like
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I can see that. We could do that. There'd be a lot of weirdos with Rising Star Oscars that just went nowhere, though.
Well, yeah.
Well, I kind of would love to see that. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so now we have the last, like, act of the movie.
This is when it turns into, like, a 1950s creature feature where the Nazis are, like, the monsters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost like an episode of Hogan's Heroes, though, too, because they're kind of bumbling.
I like that in at least our Blu-ray, they don't subtitle any of the German scenes.
Was it before?
Oh.
There might be some cuts where it's subtitled. And I was also reading in the German release, they completely remove all the Nazi scenes. So I would be curious to see how that version ends.
Interesting.
Yep. So they somehow cut it out.
Rabbit.
Right. Yeah.
I learned that, and Hexen is witch, because they say those two words quite a bit.
Yes, that's true. Did I know that Haas and Pfeffer meant rabbit from Looney Tunes? I might have been this. Yeah. That kind of big white like magician rabbit that like that they keep using in this movie.
The red eyes.
With lovely pink eyes.
Yeah. So it's a certain kind of rabbit. Like they breed like just for magicians. So we use the spell and it actually does its job.
So she ends up using it on all of the medieval armor. I love that when they introduce the kids that they're just climbing on all of this medieval armor. It's like, kids, those are antiques and those are dangerous.
It's not a playground.
Carrie,
get off.
Carrie fully has like a spiked mace that she's like swinging at her brothers that are climbing on this horse. I'm like, that's...
Get off this instance. I'm like, oh my God.
Dangerous.
Like, grounded.
And then,
but again, this scene, again, another example of this movie, like, again, taking you on a history lesson of England. Every single piece that goes to war is a different era of British military. You know what I mean? Like, it's
true.
So cool.
Yeah, there's even like Viking like uniforms in there.
Yeah, bagpipers. There's redcoats.
Yeah.
There's like
I'm impressed with this small town that manages to have all this shit in their museum.
They had a lot of shit, and then they go show the view when they're looking down. It
just keeps going,
and there's like 5 miles of soldiers. You're like, those were all in the castle.
Yeah,
maybe people in like houses and stuff just have all of this and they all just came together.
Well, maybe the castle that is in this village was like super important.
Yeah,
maybe.
So the museum is just really big.
There's some beautiful map work in this movie of when they do set extensions. They're map paintings.
Yes, some of the map paintings are really well done.
And then you see Eglantine riding in on her broomstick with the flag, which is one of my favorite parts in the movie.
Really
she kind of comes in at the end as they're scoping out. They were coming in on the miles and miles of soldiers, and Angela arrives on her her steed, which is a broom.
The broomstick. Yeah.
I mean, this is some like support your country. Like, let's all band together and win this war. This is a lot of like nation pride. Like, do your part for your country, even if it involves witchcraft.
Whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah. Seriously.
This is her moment.
Yeah. And there's some crazy effects going on. I think they're using like every trick in the book to get like these floating, you know, suits of armor going.
What do they call that? It's there's like a word of how they shoot these scenes. Hold on, keep going.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like some crazy marionette stuff. There's like guys in suits. There's like guys walking around. Some of the suits of armor, you can see that it looks like there's people in them, but then, you know, they'll have a helmet with no head inside. So they're doing some really crazy stuff with like the way they're building these on top of the stunt performers. Yeah, the German soldiers are just kind of like shooting at these like ghostly suits of armor.
It's pretty
spin them right back at them.
It's pretty well done. Like, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. I just love all the costumes. It's funny. It's kind of like the better part of the movie where you have the slapstick and the comedy. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of it, but because it's live action, and you have all the great costumes, and the humor's pretty good. The way they kind of interplay between the soldiers and the Germans, you know, it's pretty great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, the Ghost Army prevails, but not before the Germans blow a hole in Eglantine's house.
What assholes, you know what I mean?
Like what the hell?
Things were going so well.
Yeah.
And then they had to do that.
And I like that all of the townspeople, all of these old men that had fought in World War I that are joining the troops, they're nowhere to be found. They're the only people defending this town.
They show up at the end and take credit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're like, we drove them away. You know, it's like, okay, sure.
These, like, elderly senior citizens, which I love.
Yeah, these aren't, I mean, I'm wondering if this was even, like, the Crimean War or something even.
Yeah.
Like, they're old.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even...
One might be even more too generous.
Because even if they were in, like, their 20s in World War I, they would just be in, like, their late 30s or 40s by World War II.
Yeah, it's true. These men are ancient. They're fossils. They come and take all the credit for this.
Take all the credit.
Yeah. And this is when Dr. Brown decides to join up and participate in the war effort.
I mean, I guess he has to do his part.
This, like, 58-year-old man.
Little strange, right? Even as a kid, I was like, is he too old to be doing this? I'm like, isn't there something else he could do? Like, to be like entertain the troops or something? No, he's going in a uniform.
That's probably what Emilius Brown would just end up falling into once he does join up. It would just be whatever they were doing in White Christmas.
Some kind of USO with whatever, like, USO for,
for England, yeah.
I mean, obviously, they have to take this show with Eglantine and just entertain the troops and do magic for everyone.
No, but she's given up. She's no longer.
That's kind of a bummer. I feel like watching it now, you're just like, oh, you're just going to give all of it up.
She does,
but you did some cool. you did some pretty cool shit, though.
Yeah,
she did some cool shit. I think she did all. That's again what I think the whole reason she did the witchcraft. I don't think was less for her own enjoyment and more for this particular cause. At least that's what I take away. And she did it. She was able to, send the Nazis away. I mean, this is obviously very early in the war, but she was able to get them off English soil, and she succeeded in that, and that was enough. I don't know what she's going to do now. Raise the kids, I guess, but
they still have that Bedknob, though. So they do essentially have like their own airplane where they can go anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool.
Assuming it works. I mean, it was sparkling at the end, even though supposedly all her magic went away when they blew up her workshop.
Yeah,
but,
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess they do still have that.
I'm going to believe it works.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe it works. And Paul just fucking runs upstairs, puts it on, and says, "See ya, bitches," and takes off, goes to London or Kathmandu, wherever the hell he wants to go.
Why
with
not?
his bit of glass and string, you know? Later, bitches.
I like
I'm
it.
out.
Paul comes back like a teenager, just a changed boy.
Totally a changed man. Yes. Perry's like, "Who are you?"
So, with the advent of Disney Plus and of them looking for content, they're kind of throwing out all of these old properties. Like, they're doing a Home Alone TV show, which I don't know why we need that.
What?
But they need to make a limited series, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So I think
cool.
that for Eglantine, I'm going back and forth between Helena Bonham Carter and Kate Winslet. I almost feel like I would like to see Kate Winslet in the role a little more.
Yeah, I think that would be listen, I like Helena Bonham Carter. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the same birthday.
Ooh.
She's amazing. You know, there's a lot of stuff she does that I'm like, why do we cast her? Why do we cast her? Like, you know, she's done a couple Angela parts. She's done, you know, Mrs. Lovett.
She's played Witch a lot.
You know? Yeah. And I love her. I don't want to see her in another musical, to be honest with you. It's not something I look forward to. I love her, but I don't know. Like, Kate, never heard her sing. I think she'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm about Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman would be good.
All right. Yeah. I see it.
I don't know. She's more kooky.
Yeah.
A little weird.
That's
you know, could be cool. But I like the idea of a series because you could almost not remake this movie, but maybe instead each adventure is a different, you know, each episode is a different adventure. That's very smart.
You could set up the kids and then you don't even need the kids for the entire series. You could always introduce them later on. Sure. Or
it could be like Murder, She Wrote, where like they just show up every few episodes. You know what I mean? Like, oh right, there's kids. You know, otherwise she's off doing her thing.
I think Tom Hiddleston would make a good Emilius Brown.
Okay. I see that. Yeah. There's so many people you could cast in this. That's the great part about you know, the great thing about this property is it's so fun. I mean, you could take these characters in so many different directions they didn't even do in this movie, you know, and put more context in the movie, you know, that they took out when they edited it down. You know?
For sure.
All those sub characters and, you know, it could be really fun. I really kind of hope they remake this one. I think it would be neat to see it done today with the special effects capabilities we have now. Yeah. You know, I think it would be fun. There's something charming and wonderful about what we have here, and it will never change, and a new version of it won't take that away from me. You know what I mean?
And I feel like with something like Mary Poppins, people are so tied into Julie Andrews as that character that it was just really, really difficult for people to accept anybody else in the role.
That's hard. It's kind of like The Sound of Music, too. It's like anytime a version of The Sound of Music, you just cannot see it without Julie Andrews. And that's something about Julie Andrews and just those two pieces of work she did back to back that were so iconic. You know, I mean, it's amazing. It's not saying that Angela's performance in this isn't good. I just don't think you know, she's iconic as Jessica Fletcher. It'd be like having someone try to play Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah. And they almost tried that a few years ago. They were going to be doing a Murder, She Wrote reboot with Octavia Spencer, and it just didn't go anywhere.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no.
I forgot about
it. Would have. I mean, of course, it would have worked with Julie Andrews as this title character.
Sure,
that would have been
very different.
Interesting.
It would have been different, though.
Yeah, to have those two movies, you know, these two Julie performances, these two separate characters. Yeah, it would have been something.
Now, like, wasn't Julie Andrews doing some interesting movies in the early 70s? Is that when she did Torn Curtain with Paul Newman?
I think she did that. Well, maybe that was early 70s. It was at least after Mary Poppins and Sound of Music. I know that. She started to go in kind of a more, you know, what I've read about her experience at that time is she got so stereotyped and, you know, cast as like this kind of goody-goody, sweet nanny, you know, things that she wanted to really break out of that and show her range. So she was going after things that were a little more controversial, a little more adult. I mean, she did like Thoroughly Modern Millie, of course, and stuff like that, and Star. But, you know, she started doing, you know, I think she was topless in a movie. I think SOB or something. Didn't she do that? And she did Victoria, of course, is really cool. 10, you know, she did some stuff that was a little bit more adult than you kind of expected from her 60s stuff.
Now, did you like Mary Poppins Returns?
I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I felt like I thought it was charming. I thought it was well done. I thought she did a great job of kind of doing something with that character without doing an imitation of her.
Right.
But, it was very, again, if you want to talk about paint by number, I feel like that movie kind of took Mary Poppins and went, these are the plot points we need to hit. And we're just going to we're going to change the setting, change the situation, change the character slightly. But it's going to have the same, like you have your Bert character, you have your animated sequence.
Yeah.
You have all these different things. The man who's kind of like lost and doesn't remember his childhood. You know what I mean? You have these different things. And it was just kind of like a remake.
Yeah.
With just set forward, 20, 30 years.
A remake.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say a remake, and I didn't really care for any of the songs, too. I think Mark Shaman did the songs, I think. Yeah, I just thought they were fine.
Yeah.
But then I guess the Sherman Brothers are pretty hard to compete with, though.
It's hard. I mean, Mary Poppins is such a special movie. You know, I mean, it's so unique. It's so... I could do a podcast about that. I mean, as an adult watching that movie is so different from when I watched it as a kid. I cry when I watch that movie now as an adult, because I'm more relating to the dad character than I was the kids. And it's so amazing you can watch a movie, so many years later and have such a different experience and yet have it still be so powerful. And that's something about that movie, that does that. It's really going to be it's hard to recreate that magic, I feel like this movie, they could do that because I don't think it has as much of a sentimental value to people, and might actually bring something new to it that wasn't accomplished in that version, in this version we're talking about. So I'm hopeful they do something with it. I would love to see that. I heard they were doing a musical theater version of it.
I read that
like
too.
An actual stage
I'm curious of what the state of that now is.
If it just didn't happen or what. Yeah.
I was reading on Wiki 2020, so I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, for a Bedknobs and Broomsticks stage show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the Anastasia stage show in New York was very successful, so I could see that maybe working for Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah.
It could. It just depends on how they do it. The music is fun. It's not the strongest score ever, but it's a lot of magic. That's why I'm really curious to how they're going to do it live on stage. I'm interested to see what they do with that, but I'm intrigued. Why not?
Yeah. Well, there was a Mary Poppins stage version of the movie, right?
There was, and they did some magic stuff, but they also scaled it back. I mean, not scaled it back, but I think they went more with the book than the actual movie. I mean, obviously the movie aesthetically drove it, but they changed the characters, like the suffragette stuff was gone, which I love. That's my favorite, one of my favorite things with Linus John's in that movie. And they turned the mother becomes kind of boring to me. It's more about like her not connecting with the kids either. And she does Spoonful of Sugar, I think, with them, if I remember, but it was, the whole animated sequence was now in a park and like all the statues come to life, which was weird and creepy because they were naked. There was some stuff that was a little bit more of the book and very British because Cameron Mackintosh did it. It felt less more like the movie and more like the story. And
Cameron Mackintosh did Les Mis, right?
Of the movie, but
he did Les Mis, right?
He did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did Les Mis. He's produced a lot of stuff, but Les Mis and Miss Saigon, I think, and I think Phantom. He did Phantom too. He didn't direct it, but he produced it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens if 2020 ever ends.
Mm-hmm. if it ever happens. Yeah, I mean, pretty much on hold. TBD.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Like everything else.
Oh my God. So this movie actually fits this time. I mean, talk about a time where a lot of uncertainty and not sure what to do, and you kind of have to figure shit out for sure.
We're all picking ourselves up by our bootstraps.
So, Darren, you'd appreciate this. On a deleted scene of a song that they cut, there is a number that Miss Price sings called "Nobody's Problems for Me," where she sings about her realizing how she's cut people off emotionally. In her house. So they do address it in the movie, but it just ended up getting cut out.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. I feel like, she's very cold in the beginning and she definitely warms up. She cares about what she cares about. What I mean? And the kids are, in the beginning of the movie, the least of her priorities. She has her mind set on one thing, and that's the spell, becoming a witch and saving England, ending the war. And
she didn't think that she would be a mother.
Priorities change throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She sort of discovers her joy of taking care of these kids through their adventures.
Yeah, you know, she humanizes a little bit. She comes a little out of her shell and a little out of herself, you know, and realizes that she can give something to other people outside of, you know, just her own whims, you know. She could be a loving mother, perhaps, because I'm assuming she adopts the kids at the end. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. Interesting. Wow.
I think that we really outdid ourselves on the show that we did a full FaceTime call about Angela Lansbury. That's pretty gay.
I mean, come on.
It's really gay. But important and necessary,
yes,
everybody.
Yes.
She's still with us, and we got to appreciate our treasures while we have them,
This is true. Oh, I didn't give my pick for my live action remake choice.
Yes,
I
please.
I mean, I know it's super on the nose, but I really like Olivia Colman. I really like Kate Winslet. I think I kind of brought her up the first time around when we were initially talking about this. I know this choice might be super on the nose, but what about Aunt Zelda from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's her name?
Miranda Otto?
No,
Caroline something?
Oh, sure. Who is
from the new Sabrina on Netflix.
Who's on The Office?
No, she was on The Office.
Mm-hmm.
She's on
the new
UK.
version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lucy Davis?
Yet, so.
It is Lucy Davis. Yes.
Have you watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
It's cute.
Not the new one. No, this is the one with what's her face from Mad Men, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I haven't seen this version yet. I heard it's really good though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's a little on the nose because she plays a witch, but
yeah, I could also see Miranda Otto.
I could see Miranda Otto.
I think that she kind of fits the bill a little more as Miss Price.
Sure. Okay. I like it. Well, either of the aunts from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Those are my.
It's gonna be a race for Eglantine. Just wait. It's gonna
I mean, all we're saying, Disney Plus, contact us. We have some ideas.
We have ideas,
and we've got plenty of time.
We can do story treatments.
Yes,
we could do a whole pitch for you when this is all over.
This is true.
Yes,
we still have our Empire Records sitcom just waiting. We've got 12 episodes. Almost completely written. Oh boy,
that's another good one.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It was. It was
thanks,
good,
guys.
It was good to catch up with you.
Lightening up my day.
Yeah,
my
weird times.
Day here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on quarantine edition of Movies That Made Us Gay. This was so much fun.
And also, this is the oldest movie I believe we've done on the podcast.
Oh, I think we lost him again.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
Okay.
We thought it froze.
I'm here.
Okay, cool.
Technology.
I know. It's so weird. We'll cut that bit out.
I'm here.
Well, is there anything that you've been, working on? Any new hobbies? Have you taken up knitting? Oh my God,
right now I'm just trying to make sure my company doesn't go under. I mean, I've been working harder than I've worked in a long time just because I've had to adjust to kind of being at home and rallying around, the business we have and finding new ways. Because I'm a magazine editor and, a local magazine right now, considering we support a community that's suffering is tough. But I feel like there's a purpose for us right now to be a voice and, have a lens into what's going on. So there's that, but we'll get through it. It's challenging. It's tough. And, I'm just trying to vary my day as much as possible, try to get out of the house and get some fresh air and take a walk while being safe. And, of course,
put on some Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
And I'm watching a lot of Murder, She Wrote.
Pour a glass of wine. Which one were we watching? We were watching one with the Baroness from... We're watching one with the Baroness from The Sound of Music, Eleanor Parker, and she plays...
Oh, which season?
I think this is season 3, and she plays a stage actress that her understudy is murdered by a prop. They put some poison in a glass of wine on stage, and she drinks it and dies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Glynis Johns was on last night, so she plays it was very different for her. She played kind of like a dresser. It was, I always think of Glynis Johns being kind of like this glamorous, I think of The Ref and, Mary Poppins and WWII Music. And she played this kind of more dour kind of, like a dresser for Angela Lansbury's cousin's character. And, you know, it was funny to see her in such a different part, but all the Broadway people that are coming out of the woodwork for these early episodes is so much fun. And people that Angela played opposite, like Len Cariou and like, you know, all these people. It's so fun.
Barry Williams from the Brady Bunch showed up on an episode we were watching today.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, he did. Good old Greg Brady. Oh, my goodness. So go out and it's on Amazon Prime?
It's on Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Yep, it's on Prime. First few seasons are free. So
and it's pretty much always on the Hallmark Channel at night.
This is true. It's on Hallmark Channel a lot. So go out and watch yourself some Angela Lansbury, everybody. Wow. Thanks for coming on, Darren.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Fun, of course. And listeners, thank you for listening. You can find us wherever you find podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud. No, not SoundCloud. Spotify. That's what I'm thinking of. But when you're on iTunes,
give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars.
I also want to mention that we did a vote on our Instagram last week of voting on the next movie, and then the winner was Single White Female.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to hold off for a few weeks doing Single White Female. It is on the way. So I would probably say in 2-3 weeks at most, we will have the Single White Female episode.
Yes, but it's definitely coming at you. Mm-hmm. So you can find us on social media. We're at Movies That Made Us Gay on Facebook and Instagram, and at MTMUG Pod on Twitter.
And we also have a fun vote on an actress coming up in April. We're going to do a fantasy bracket of, I'll just say it, of the career of Kirsten Dunst. So we're going to...
It's her birthday month.
We are going to go through Kirsten Dunst and her filmography. We've done 2 Kirsten Dunst movies, and we're going to narrow it down to kind of one that we're going to review.
Movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll be coming up your way pretty soon.
Get on our Instagram, and you can check that out in our stories.
Yes, indeed. But in the meantime, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with another fresh episode. Stay safe, stay self-quarantined, stay inside. Bye.
Bye. Bye.